Welcome to America's Policy Podcast. I'm your host, Cassandra Alessio, and this is episode 26. I wanted to go over today about food coloring. I've done an episode before, but this paper is probably about a week or two old. I wanted to go over what was going on with food coloring. This is the Wall Street Journal, and the article is RFK Jr. sets plan to cut food coloring, and this was on April 23rd. And no matter what your political affiliation is, I think that this is a universal good idea. We should not be giving children preservatives or dyes, especially when they're in the development phase. When children are being developed, and you could look into the research of this, it's so important that we feed them nutrients and good food items so they develop the healthy brain, the healthy body, etc. And I think this is a really good policy, whether you agree with him or not, whatever your political affiliation is. I think it's important that we should be making our food healthier for kids, and we do this by taking out the food dyes. You don't need chemical food dyes. Now, there's natural ways to food dye. Obviously, you have different pomegranate, turmeric. You have a ton of different items that a lot of companies now, or some companies now, are starting to use. You don't need to use these chemically made dyes. You don't need these bright colors. It's okay. Your kids will be fine. And it's so important because, especially now, there's a lot of high rates of autism, and there's a lot of high rates of learning disabilities, and there's high rates of children acting out. Now, again, I don't know the correlation. I don't think the researchers even found out why this is happening. In New Jersey, we have a very high rate of autism. And I and everyone else would love answers, but we don't know. But I think what's good is we're making the good first step that if something is bad for our children, we should be working on making it better. And even if the research hasn't proven yet that chemicals have a direct correlation, I would still think chemicals are bad for children. And their chemicals are bad for adults. And children are still developing, and their immune systems and the allergies are so prevalent now. I remember when I was younger, it was very rare that you heard somebody had an allergy. Now it seems like almost everyone has an allergy. And it has to be our food source. At the end of the day, our food sources are not up to par with other countries. And I've repeated this before because I do think that we need to address these issues. And we have such a good opportunity now to kind of switch the FDA. We have an opportunity to extremely take it from an organization that was not benefiting the American people to an organization that is. Now, in regards to food, everything else, that's a different story. But in regards to food, we need to start working on legislation that helps families be able to monitor what their children and what themselves as adults are eating. And a lot of times, especially if people are not educated, they read the front of the covers of food items and they take it as this is what it really means. But as we all know, those rules and laws are not really, I guess you could say, black and white, because you could say something on the front page of the cover and it doesn't mean anything, right? You look at the ingredients, turn around and look at the ingredients. Always look at the ingredients, because that's where you're going to find the devil in the detail, right? You always are going to find what is actually in that item. And it's important. You should not have 100 items in one thing. That means that what you're eating is not what you're eating. And it's important because we want our children to be able to have the best chance of success, in the sense that they have the most healthiest bodies. And maybe there's actually a connection between your IQ, your brain function, like everything could be connected. And maybe it couldn't, maybe it could. But if we know for a fact that healthy eating and better quality eating is going to lead to a healthier life, and maybe this will alter everything else, right? As there's a ton of adults, right, that are developing dementia. brain fog, allergies, autoimmune disorders, all this is connected to health, right? So if we fix our food, maybe the next generation is not going to have as many issues. Now, again, the pharmaceutical companies are not going to be as happy, but I don't know, that's not really anyone's problem. So I think that it's important that we have healthy people. Healthy people lead to a prosperous economy. It's very simple. We don't want people getting sick. We don't want people having long-term diseases. We don't want people having all these illnesses. The only people that benefits is obviously the pharmaceutical companies or manufacturers of certain medicines, etc. But why would you want that? Why isn't a country, they could own another business, buy something else. And there's always going to be a need for medicine because as years go on, there's always different diseases being developed or being, I guess, introduced to our society. When there's always going to be something, there's always going to be a need. It's not that we're just taking everything away. We're never going to need medication. We're never going to need nothing. But we want to limit to the exposure to, in my opinion, 5% or less. Again, it's a pipe dream, but why do we want people sick in our country? It makes no sense to me. So I think what's important is that we work on the food source. We work on the food source. If we can have healthier foods, why would anyone vote against this legislation? Why would any party be against helping serve the American people good, healthy food without preservatives, without color additives, without chemicals, without all these quote unquote natural flavors? I don't even know what that is. Every time I see that ingredient, natural flavor, I'm like, you should just write what it is. And if you can't write what it is, then it shouldn't be in there. So I think we need to go back to more of a simplistic way of living. And I understand that there'll be an adjustment period because we're America. We are busy. We're busy than anything. But I still think you could still sell items without all these additional, I guess, junk added into it. If you buy a tomato, it should look like a tomato. If you're buying bread should have very simple ingredients. And this is also ties into my last episode when I was talking about housing, because if people have houses, single family houses or multifamily, whatever it is, 1 to 4 units, is 100 times better than building these huge apartment buildings. And the reason why I say this is because everyone should have a little piece of land. It's important. Whether you have chickens for fresh eggs, or whether you're growing herbs in your garden, or whether you're growing vegetables or fruit, you are having this access to fresh food items. It's important. No one's going out there and saying that they're building these gigantic farms, but you should be able to grow a couple items or a few items and be able to feed yourself and your family fresh food. And that doesn't mean people are not going to go to the supermarket. I know everyone's like, well, wait a minute, then that's going to take the supermarkets out of business. No, it's not. But it's important, and you can't grow fruit and vegetables in the winter. I mean, I guess you could, yes, but the climate, depending on where you are, might not work. So give everyone an opportunity to provide for themselves, provide for their family, and give them the opportunity to be able to give their kids a better future than they did, right? So maybe you didn't grow up with all these fresh fruits or vegetables, and maybe your family lived more on food with a lot of additives or preservatives, and you want to be able to give your children a better life than you had. And we have so much disease going on and so many illnesses and so many health scares and health issues among people. This is the simplest way to address it. Simplest. Why is our bodies are so inflamed, right? What's causing inflammation in everyone's bodies? What is causing all these chronic illnesses? All these items can be addressed first step with our food quality. And the crazy part is it's the simplest thing to do. And there's so much pushback, which is mind-boggling to me. You should be able to want a good health for yourself and your children. And let me see if I can pull up. I don't know if there's any food legislation, but let's just see. I'm going to just put in, food is really simple, so I don't know if it's going to come up, but let's see what's per act of 2025. I don't even know what this is. Let's see. This bill establishes the Food and Drug Administration Center for Veterinary Medicine as a sole regulatory authority over pet food for dogs and cats. It also provides certain flexibilities for pet food manufacturers with respect to the types of ingredients they may use and the associated labeling and marketing requirements. I think that's pretty important, right? If we want ourselves to be healthy, our children to be healthy, we should want our pets to be healthy too. A lot of people, myself included, consider pets to be part of the family. Now we have Food Desserts Act. Interesting. Let's see. This, okay. To reduce food desserts. Oh, I read that too fast. That's why I was a little confused. Desserts. So this is a bill establishes a grant program within the Department of Agriculture to reduce food deserts. Under the program, grants are provided to states for revolving funds that support the establishment and operation of grocery stores in underserved communities. Underserved communities are communities that have limited access to affordable, healthy foods, including fresh fruits and vegetables in grocery retail stores or farmer to consumer direct markets, a high rate of hunger, a high rate of food insecurity, or a high poverty rate. Interesting. So, what they're essentially saying that this is a grant program. And I guess this is why they play on words, right? Food Desert Act. Because they essentially want to be able to reduce the areas, or food deserts as they call it. I think they should have picked a different name, honestly. But to reduce the inability to access affordable, healthy foods, right? So there's probably some parts in the country that do not have access. Now I'm from North New Jersey. I don't think this would really affect us. We pretty much have access to affordable, healthy foods almost everywhere here. Now, again, affordable is maybe a term that maybe would be up for negotiation because I don't think it's affordable, but I don't know what they mean by affordable. So, and again, it depends also too. So some of these words are very vague and they do it on purpose, right? So let's see. To amend the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008 with respect to the issuance of quality control guidelines issued by the Secretary of Agriculture. Now, you can go through all this. It's important. Reduced Food Prices Act. And if you really think about it, all this is relative to having access to not have to question everything you buy. It takes me forever when I buy items. I really look in the ingredients. I do it the best I could. Is it perfect? Absolutely not, because it makes it hard to. And a lot of, like, especially if you're traveling, a lot of rest stops or a lot of airport places or a lot of places that are on the go do not have healthy options or do not have items that have limited preservatives, etc. So you really have to take the time to look at the ingredients. It should be very easily accessible throughout the entire country. I shouldn't have to think about, when I buy an item, let me look through the ingredients list. It should be very, very simple, and the government should be doing a lot more. It's actually pretty embarrassing what they allow. Now, again, I don't know what happened over the years or what led to all these preservatives. Maybe it was during the war. I don't know. I have to do some research. But we have an opportunity now. Let's give people a chance to buy healthy food. I mean, it's pretty simple. So work on the housing, work on zoning, work on the FDA, And I hope the FDA changes for the better. I do hope we start seeing dramatic changes, and I hope it stays. I hope this doesn't become a partisan issue, because it's not partisan. It's 0% partisan. It's, do you want to feed your children healthy items or do you not? It's simple. Or do you want to feed yourself healthy items? So hopefully we're going to see more progress with this. Contact your federal legislators, because especially if you're having children or if you're pregnant right now, you want to be able to eat healthy items. So please reach out to them, tell them your thoughts, advocate for yourself, advocate for your family, and hopefully within the next year or two, we could start seeing dramatic changes in the food industry. If you have any questions, americaspolicypodcast@gmail.com. If not, I'll see you next week. Thank you.